What up, guys? I'm here in Visalia, California, and I am about to hit Kings Canyon and Sequoia. Let's do it. Okay, so I'm now in Sequoia National Park after passing through a brief part of Kings Canyon. The cool thing about this park is it starts out with this really wide open alpine landscape. You can see like snow at the top. It's mid-May right now, but then it actually like climbs up into these giant forests. So it's totally unlike what I was expecting. Like, I was not expecting to go through huge mountains to get here and now be in this massive forest land. It is also quite a bit colder than it was in the valley, so that is interesting as well. And also, I did not exactly end up on the road I was expecting to. I think there were some areas I was trying to see that I missed the turnoff for, but there's no service in parts of the park, so I didn't realize that I was like deep into the park until like well into my journey. So it's, I think, pretty cool to be surrounded by all these really tall trees. I don't know how well they come out on camera, but it's a much more high alpine experience than I was expecting so far. Oh, and also, I think we are back to this mainly, at least so far, being a driving park rather than a hiking park. I am not super content on driving all that much, especially after doing that for the last 2 weeks. So, you know, it's not the most fun part about this whole journey, but today I think will be the last solo day of driving that I do for a long time. So I'm thankful for that. And I'm also thankful that I get to see all this beautiful stuff in the process. I just realized something very ridiculous. So I thought I was entering Kings Canyon through the north side of the Sequoia Kings Canyon complex, but I just took a look at the map again and I realized I entered through the south side of the park. So I've been going in a completely different direction than I expected. So no wonder all of the roads that I thought existed were not here. Honestly, I don't even think, based off of realizing that issue, that this park is that hard to get around. I think I've just been traveling for a week and a half, and you know, the territory that comes with it is making these little mistakes. Although, to be totally fair, it's not the biggest deal in the world because I'm still going to be able to get through the park and not missing anything. But to be totally honest with all of you guys, one of the big parts about running a business like this is, you know, like using your time effectively and, you know, like making sure to be putting it where it's most valuable. And I think I'm getting to the point where, you know, going and seeing all these national parks, at least on one continuous trip, is reaching its diminishing returns. So I will be going back to New York tomorrow, at least for a couple days, catching up on business stuff a lot more seriously. And I think that's something that's important to keep in mind. Like, I'm not here on vacation. I'm here to help everyone who wants to go to a national park figure out what the right one to go to is. And there's something to be said about the business part of that as well. Okay, so I might have spoke a little bit prematurely when I said this was a driving park. I ended up going into the forest a little bit and checking out, first off, the General Sherman Trail, which it takes, at least from the summer parking lot, I think during the winter it's a lot closer, but for the summer parking lot, I think it takes about a half a mile to hike to. It's downhill on the way there, but uphill on the way back. And we're at 7,000 feet, surprisingly. This is the other really shocking thing about this park. It's just such a higher elevation than I was expecting. Like, you do not expect massive forests like this to be in a high alpine area. But then the second thing is Congress Trail, which is where all the really famous sequoia trees, really giant ones that are named after presidents, the president tree, the Senate tree, the Senate grove, the House grove, those are all on this trail. It's about a mile-long loop. Now, there are harder hikes, but that is not a trivial amount of hiking. And there were several other trails you could take that could go for miles. So, you know, obviously there's this road and there's a lot of this park you can explore just by driving, but there's a serious hiking component, it seems like, as well. Oh, and there's also something to be said. It turns out that Mount Whitney is in this park, which is the highest peak in the lower 48 states. And I'm pretty sure you need like a very special permit to go there, and you have to go around like the other side of the Sierras, but it is in the park. So there's something to be said about that, even if 99.99% of people will never do it. Yeah, the other funny thing about that is I thought that the General Sherman tree would just be like a off-the-road attraction, and it would just take like a couple minutes to check out. But doing that trail and checking out all of those other trees ended up taking out the entire morning, but on we go. Checking in again. I am at the end of Kings Canyon, and by end I mean the road's end, because this park actually goes on for quite a long time, but you have to hike to get any further. So today I think that is not in the cards for me. There are hikes ranging from 4 miles round trip to dozens. You can get really into the wilderness here, and I feel like in order to really understand this park, exploring some of that wilderness is going to need to be required. So I will definitely be trying to come back here at some point this summer. But yeah, just getting all the way out here from the Sequoia National Park area that I was spending time in, and then the outer part of Kings Canyon is what I'd call it, because the two parts of Kings Canyon National Park are actually discontiguous. So that drive took me like 2 hours, and I now have to actually get out of the park, which I think will take me another hour, hour and a half, because I can go through another exit. And I'm actually flying back to New York tomorrow, so I'm going through LA. So I have to drive all the way back to LA tonight because my flight is late morning, but it's still in the morning. So I got to return the rental car and everything. I will be back on the grinds later this summer and hopefully do some much more intense hiking here, because both Sequoia and Kings Canyon, low-key, seem like amazing hiking parks. I've made it to Los Angeles. Part 1 of the national parks trip is finally over. Yep, I'm tired too, Dogs. Okay, folks, it is 6:30 in the morning here in LA, and I need to tell you about a huge, big mistake I made last night. So I decided it would be a good idea to stay near the airport, and rather than splurging for a regular hotel, in order to save money, I decided to stay in a shared room Airbnb. Because honestly, what's the worst that could happen? And I really haven't had much of a bad experience with Airbnbs before, because normally Airbnb hosts vet their guests. But the house I stayed in, the guy who was in my room was incredibly rude. At around 6 a.m. he got on the phone and literally started talking at normal volume with me in the room, which is like the most antisocial thing I can think of. And I just decided, literally, my flight's not for another 5 hours, but I'm just leaving. So I'm not sleeping anymore. When someone is literally talking at full volume in the room I'm supposed to be sleeping in. So here we are.